Also, you will be making sure that all of your pieces are fitting within the one graph here in positive space. And let's see, selecting on the UVs. So when I position these into place, you do want to make sure that you're utilizing the space as well as possible. And you are trying to make sure that the different pieces of the vehicle that need to look the same are scaled the same. And here's a rotate. Let's rotate on 45. So if you have, depending on your texture that you're using, if it's an old rusted vehicle, you're definitely going to want to make sure that these are going in the appropriate direction, and that you have your pieces stitched together as much as possible. It's probably a good idea not to try to put the door in here unless absolutely necessary. So if you have some different rust streaks or whatever you might have, or you're planning on damaging the vehicle with a map that needs to run across there. Otherwise, you'll get better resolution if you can cut the pieces up and stack them a little bit better in here. So if I had to put this door in here, side vehicle, you can imagine that I can't have to scale that a lot smaller, which decreases the resolution, to get that onto this positive world space here. And so if that is not necessary, you can get better resolution just by keeping the pieces a little bit larger. I still need to scale this down a little bit, unless of course I want to try to fit it in over here. Alright, so I think you get the idea. You'll just continue to work along here, moving and sewing, cutting up certain areas. Oh, cut tool. This is your cut tool right here. So if you do need to cut an area out, say this fender is perhaps a different color, you'll want to go ahead and select these edges along here. And I believe you can double click on the world and get this edge loop, and then you can cut that piece. Alright, and then just grab the UVs, control key down to shell, and then you can drag that piece to where you need it. It is a separate piece there now. So that's pretty much what you'll be doing as you're working around your model and laying out these UVs. Once you have them all laid out, you'll want to make sure to check your resolution. What you're striving for is resolution that's nice, even squares, which you can see here, all the way around, sides included. It's wrapping around nicely, and not something that's looking like this where you have a lot of stretching across there and things are different sizes and scaled, being pulled with the geometry there. So additionally, you may need to come in here if you're not getting what you want, and what I tend to do sometimes is I will go to the top-down view, and then what you can do is use the create UVs based on camera. So if you know that, for instance, you're going to use a texture map for your faces, and you want to just select out the portion of the face that's going to need to be handled carefully because you're using a photograph, then you can come in here and select those faces on your character and get the position on the camera that you need. And it may be from the perspective view. I highly recommend not doing that, but in an orthographic view you'll get a more accurate projection. And then just say create UVs based on camera. And what that does, we can go back to our panel here, is it just gives you a nice clean projection on those surfaces there. Of course, I think I grabbed the front of the vehicle too, so this is not so clean. You'll want to project that again a little bit differently, and then stitch that together so that you get a nice clean checkerboard. But that's just one other way that you can do that if you choose. When you have your map completed and everything is stacked within the 0 to 1 space here, and you have some little bit of space around your texture map, and you have nothing hanging out, and you want to make sure that everything is in this space, otherwise you'll get a tiling effect if you have things out here, and you don't really want to do that if you can avoid it. But once you have that in place, you can take a snapshot of this space and go ahead and put it in Photoshop and use it as your guide to create your texture or paint your texture. So I hope that helps. If the lines are not thick enough for you, you can get into the Levels tool in Photoshop and beef those lines up a little bit or thin them out just by using the Levels tool in there. And after you're all done, select it all and delete history, and you'll be ready to apply your textures. Very good.